So we saw both protesters and supporters at the Cuban embassy today as the flag was raised for the first time since 1961. With the reestablishment of diplomatic relations between the U.S. and Cuba, more Americans are envisioning trips there. But Seven's on your side with a consumer alert here, because travel for U.S. citizens still requires more than a passport and a visa. Since President Obama announced a thaw in U.S.-Cuba relations, Americans have been flocking to the island so close to U.S. shores. Between January and May of this year, travel to Cuba grew a whopping 36%. The travel organization Inside Cuba says its web traffic has quadrupled and bookings have doubled. Falls Church's Kathy Cox just returned from a group trip.
Everybody said, I want to get there before McDonald's and Starbucks. I want to get there before the commercialization changes the city of Havana and the rest of Cuba to where it looks like every place else.
It's an exotic destination that people just have had a fascination with, a bit of the forbidden fruit.
And since the spike in interest, National Geographic Expeditions has added trips.
As more and more tourists come, it's putting a stress on an infrastructure that hasn't had a lot of investment over the years.
But for Americans, booked lodgings aren't the only problem. Even with embassies opened, travel to Cuba as a tourist is still prohibited. Americans must travel within 12 allowed categories, such as for educational purposes. While dozens of Cuba travel providers now appear on the internet, the U.S. could penalize those whose trips don't comply with current U.S. law.
It may be that the accounts of the company are frozen. Any deposit may take months to get back. So there are practical reasons to go with a good, reputable company.
Robert Muse, an expert on U.S.-Cuba law, says change may not come as rapidly as some Americans think.
Cubans are very proud of their culture and their nation's history, and I think they're apprehensive about some effects, including the effects on Havana, the environment. They would prefer to go slowly and carefully.
Now, if you're curious about what those 12 permitted categories are, just head to our website, WJLA.com. We have them there for you. By the way, any major revision of restrictions on U.S. tourism would require congressional action, which is not expected.